People out in the hallway would like to come on in. We're going to go ahead and get started.
Right now, no. In the other room. This is where the FERC take comments from the public. They're supposed to take that as part of their decision-making process. Quick and accessible.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Okay, I'd like to thank all of you for coming tonight to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, aka FERC's, public scoping meeting for the Constitution Pipeline Project. I'm Kevin Bowman, and I'm an environmental scientist with the FERC's Office of Energy Projects and Deputy Project Manager for this project. Charlie Brown, the environmental project manager, is recovering from surgery and could not attend. Here with me tonight on my left is Kara Harris, environmental scientist. Also, outside in the hallway you may have met was Cameron Young-Allen with External Affairs, Pamela Romano with our Division of Pipeline Certificates, and Shahid Anis, the environmental scientist. Also with me tonight, my right is Doug Mooneyhan, and outside in the hallway is Lavinia DeSanto with Cardinal Hendricks, our third-party contract for this project, who will be assisting us with the development of the environmental document. Before we get started, please, if you haven't already, turn off your silence for your cell phones. So we're here tonight to provide you with some information on the federal process related to this proposed pipeline project and to hear your comments and concerns. Fundamentally, the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide each of you with an opportunity to give us your comments and to tell us what additional environmental issues we should address in our analysis of this project. We've already received numerous comments concerning the project, including some suggestions for additional alternatives. Based on the comments we've already received, we've already started to ask for additional questions and analyze some other major alternative routes. We've included all these affected landowners on each of these alternatives in our mailing list for tonight for the notice of intent which we sent out and requested comments and announced tonight's meeting. Your input on these alternatives is one of the things that we are hoping to hear tonight. So the FERC staff environmental analysis will result in the production of an environmental impact statement, or EIS. The FERC is the lead federal agency that is responsible for the National Environmental Policy Act, aka NEPA, review of the proposed project and the lead agency for the preparation of the EIS. NEPA requires FERC to analyze the environmental impacts, consider alternatives, and provide appropriate mitigation measures on proposed projects where applicable. The Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Transportation, and New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets are currently cooperating agencies for the project. Additional federal, state, and local agencies with special expertise are always welcome to cooperate in our review of the project. I'd like to take a few minutes and further explain the purpose of tonight's meeting. I will clarify that the proposed project is not conceived by and is not promoted by the FERC or the cooperating agencies. FERC reviews applications for the authority to build and operate interstate natural gas pipelines, and the Constitution Pipeline is in the process of preparing an application to submit to FERC. Once the application is submitted, our obligation is to review that application and prepare an analysis of the environmental impacts. I would like to point out that FERC does not regulate local natural gas distribution pipelines or natural gas production facilities. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is responsible for the regulation and oversight of local natural gas production facilities, and the New York State Public Service Commission is responsible for the regulation of the distribution facilities. In Pennsylvania, these facilities are overseen by the Pennsylvania DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. Although we recognize that you may have concerns regarding the production and local distribution of natural gas in both Pennsylvania and New York, FERC has no regulatory authority over these activities, and comments regarding the siting and production are best directed to the agencies I just mentioned. So tonight's meeting is not a public hearing. We are not here to debate the proposal or to make any determinations on its fate. We are solely here to listen to your concerns so that we can consider them in our environmental analysis. Pipeline proposals sometimes encounter objections. Some are general in nature, and some objections are based on potential environmental and safety impacts. Both categories are important to FERC, but they are addressed in different ways. The general objections to the project would be considered during the Commission's public convenience and necessity review, whereas the environmental and safety impacts are addressed by FERC's environmental staff in our EIS. In our notice of intent issued on September 9th, we requested your comments and assigned a deadline of October 9th. However, the end of the scoping period is not the end of the public involvement. We will continue to take comments throughout the review of the project. But for us to adequately address your comments, analyze them, and research the issues, we ask that you try and get us those as soon as possible. The speakers list was located outside the back table, and we will use that list to identify individuals tonight wishing to provide verbal comments. We've identified an order for the speakers, and it is as follows. Elected officials will speak first. Impacted landowners will speak second, and anyone else will be able to speak third. In addition to the verbal comments provided tonight, we will also accept your written comments. If you have comments but do not wish to speak tonight, you can write those written comments down and hand them to us tonight. You can also mail them in. Be sure to include the project docket number, PF 12-9, no spaces. Now, the Constitution Pipeline project is currently in our pre-filing process. That means an application has not yet been filed. We consider the pre-filing process to be, amongst other things, an extension of our scoping process. For us, the scoping process is a learning process. It is where we educate ourselves about the project, the area, and potential issues. So during this process, we're just gathering information. Some of the sources that we are using right now to gather information are provided by the applicant, from other federal, state, and local agencies, our own field work and research on different issues, and information from the public. Once we gather the information developed during the scoping process, and an application is formally filed, we will analyze it, and we will prepare a draft environmental impact statement that will be distributed for comments. So there are two ways that you can get a copy of the EIS, the draft EIS that is. If you receive the notice of intent that we sent out in the mail, that means you're on your mailing list, and you will receive a copy of the draft EIS. Secondly, if you did not receive a notice of intent, you can get on our mailing list by signing up to the table outside the hallway. Print your name and address, and we will add you to mailing list. If you did not do one of those two things, we won't be able to send you a copy of the draft EIS. Typically, we are mailing the draft EIS as a CD, because the ones can become very lengthy. If you prefer to have a hard copy mailed to you, please indicate that choice on the return mailer that was with the notice of intent, or on the back table outside. Now, after the draft EIS is issued, there's a 45-day comment period. During that public comment period, we will hold another meeting similar to this format. We may come back here to the same facility, if it is available, and to ask you to comment on the information provided in the draft EIS. At the end of that 45-day public comment period, we will begin organizing all the information gathered to date and preparing the final EIS. Once we have issued the final environmental impact statement, it will be forwarded to our commissioners. The EIS is not the decision-making document. Our 5 commissioners at FERC will use the information in the EIS, as well as other information, to make a determination of whether or not to grant an authorization for the project. So I will now turn things over to Cindy Ivey from Constitution to give a very brief presentation on the proposed project.
Can everybody hear me? In the back? Can you hear me now? Great. Good evening and thank you. As Kevin said, my name is Cindy Ivey. I'm the manager of public outreach for the Constitution Pipeline. It's a joint venture between 2 natural gas companies, Williams and Cabot Oil and Gas. In addition to being the majority owner of the pipeline, Williams would be responsible for permitting, constructing, and operating the Constitution Pipeline. The proposed 120-mile, 30-inch pipeline is being designed with a capacity to transport 650,000 decatherms of natural gas per day from the production area in northern Pennsylvania to well-developed large domestic markets in New England and New York City. The capacity that would be transported in this pipeline is the equivalent to serving the energy needs of approximately 3 million homes per day. The proposed primary route would start adjacent to an existing compressor station in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, and extend approximately 121 miles across parts of Broome, Shenango, Delaware, and Schoharie counties in New York, ending at an existing compressor station in Schoharie County, New York. The company is currently examining a 600-foot wide study corridor and has asked for survey permission from landowners along this primary route. The 600-foot wide survey corridor allows the company flexibility to make informed decisions regarding the potential location of the proposed facilities. The company is also studying more than 15 route alternatives and, based on input from stakeholders and agencies, has adopted alternatives A, B, L, and Q into its primary route. 5 open houses for the primary route, 1 in each county, were held in July. Along with the primary route and several variations, the company is studying an 80-mile-plus major route alternative, referred to as alternate route M. that would route the pipeline closer to Interstate 88. The alternative was developed in response to numerous comments from stakeholders. The first 45 miles of the pipeline of this alternate would be the same as the primary route and would potentially affect a different set of landowners who are located closer to Interstate 88 in Shenango, Otsego, Delaware, and Schoharie counties. This alternate would be approximately 127 miles and would terminate at the same location in Schoharie County as the primary route. 2 open houses for the alternate route M were held in this area on September 12th and 13th. In addition to the 120 miles of pipeline, the Constitution Project proposal also includes a new 32,000 horsepower compressor facility that would be located in Schoharie County, New York, 2 receipt metering stations in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, and 2 delivery metering stations in Schoharie County, New York. Williams proposes to meet or exceed all federal regulations established by the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration for construction and operation of this project. We are developing an integrity maintenance plan that focuses on prevention, first and foremost, followed by detection and mitigation. Since 2002, Williams has invested more than $1 billion in our existing pipelines on maintenance and integrity-related enhancements since 2002. The pipeline, compressor station, and meter stations are being designed with safety and security measures. A local full-time staff of highly trained individuals would operate, monitor, and maintain the pipeline and its facilities. In addition, the pipeline would be remotely monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from Williams Central Gas Control in Houston. Constitution entered the pre-filing process in April of 2012 and filed first drafts of Resource Report 1, which covers the scope of the project, and Resource Report 10, which gives an overview of the company's alternatives analysis in May of 2012. We plan to file additional drafts of all required resource reports, 1 through 12, in November, followed by the filing of our formal 7C application in early 2013. Should the project receive approval, the company is targeting a May 31st, 2015 in-service date. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, I'm going to set a few ground rules before we start. This meeting is being recorded by a transcription service, so all of your comments will be accurately transcribed and placed into the public record. For the benefit of all in attendance, and for the accuracy of the transcript, when your name is called, please step up to the podium and clearly state your name and affiliation, if any. You might also spell your name to the court reporter to ensure accuracy if any misspelling is likely. Also, please speak directly into the microphone so that you can be clearly heard by the court reporter, the panel, and all in the audience. We have the facility until 10 o'clock tonight. So at this time, we have about 40 speakers signed up, and that would give about each of you about 5 minutes to speak. We do not want to limit anyone's comments, but to get through all the speakers, we will have to set a time frame. Keep in mind that applause will only reduce the time frame we have for speakers. If you have detailed comments, we ask that you summarize the comments at the podium tonight, and then give us the full written comments at the table where you signed in today. Also, if you're a speaker and that you feel your comments were previously expressed, you can simply state your name and your endorsement for the previous comments that were already stated. I also want to make sure that we conduct this meeting in a professional decorum. We are here to hear each of your comments on the project. Respect each speaker as they provide their comments, whether you agree with them or not. Thank you for your consideration.
Richard Light.
Please address the panel, if you would. Please stand on the other side and address us, if you would. Face us. Thank you. Perfect.
My name is Richard Leif. I'm supervisor for the town of Richmondville. Many of us are here tonight that do not want another gas transmission line running through our county. If the powers that be determine otherwise, the transmission line must stay away from villages, schools, homes, and the areas of population. I would like to read a letter my town of Richmondville Town Board authorized me to write to FERC regarding our town and village. It was addressed to Kathleen Bowes, Secretary, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Dear Ms. Bowes, my town of Richmondville Town Board made a motion at a regular meeting on August 9, 2012 to have Cabot-Williams Constitution Pipeline follow a route along the south side of our town, which is away from population, schools, and the general public. Constitution Pipeline has many proposed routes running through our town and our county, Schoharie County, New York, and we feel this route would be the safest for everyone involved. A pipeline route proposed by another company, El Paso Pipeline, designated a route along the southern part of our town which we feel would be the safest. The southern route has been mapped by El Paso, and at a March 2012 meeting held at the Schoharie County Board of Supervisors, I presented representatives from Cabot-Williams with large-scale maps showing this route. When this route was proposed, I contacted property owners to which this route would pass. The southern route passes through 4 very large landowners, the bulk of the route through our town, who are all in agreement with the pipeline passing through their lands. The southern route is up in the hills, away from human population, and would be, by our estimation, the safest route for a 30-inch diameter gas pipeline to pass. Our Town of Richmond Town Board met with Cabot Williams representatives, the same representatives I met with at our March 2012 Schoharie County Board of Supervisors meeting on Thursday, August 23rd, to again stress the location of the southern route as being the safest route running through our town. Matthew Swift, my contact with Cabot Williams, stated at the meeting that this southern route would be mapped, and in subsequent correspondence with our town clerk, Mr. Swift has stated the southern route is being mapped as alternate route R. The Town of Richmond, by motion, would like Cabot Williams and Constitution Pipeline to follow alternate route R as the proposed pipeline route through our town if this process continues. Thank you for your consideration into this matter.
Hi, my name is Kevin Murray. I'm mayor of the village of Richmondville, located in the western part of the county. The proposed route on August of this year, our board, village board, unanimously voted to oppose the pipeline to our community. It poses too great a threat on our community as a whole, the welfare and public safety of our residents. Not to say that it is going to have a negative economic and social impact on our community, as the I-88 crosses Route 7 only in two areas, one being Richmondville. So the area that's proposed goes through a residential area and also a proposed development within the community. It needlessly exposes our community to great risk, not only our schools, but our community as a whole, and therefore we think that it's best that we look at other options to us. But I'm not going to join in the argument that says, push the pipeline here to another community. I question the need for the pipeline. I question how it's going to be economically beneficial for our community, and I think it's going to have a negative impact. It seems to me that small communities are constantly asked to take the greatest part of the risk and receive no benefit as a result. So, therefore, I don't see the need for the pipeline, but I just ask you to consider all remarks, and I just want to thank you for taking our comments tonight.
Thank you very much.
Gene, sorry.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the panel. My name is Gene Malone. I'm the supervisor of the town of Schoharie. I'd like to begin by saying it is my personal opinion that there should not be any additional gas lines running through Schoharie County. I also wish to point out that since FERC has seemingly supported the I-88 concept for routing, I would deeply appreciate Constitution and FERC taking another look at what you are suggesting. I believe that the pipeline is on the wrong side of the highway with respect to impact on our residents in the town of Schoharie. The south side of I-88 offers clearer terrain. You want to take a close look at that. I would also like to say that representing people in any capacity has never been and will never be easy. When you accept a responsibility of that nature, you must believe that first and foremost comes the health and safety of your constituents. Such is the case on the issue of the proposed pipeline. Ever since the day that I was informed about the proposed Tennessee line compounded by the proposed Constitution line, I have been searching for someone else who may really care about the people in this county, who have consistently made sacrifice with respect to supplying the multitudes with what they are in need of, without any true benefit to our communities. Pipelines carrying natural gas as well as propane are nothing new to our part of the state, and our residents have lived with the everyday worry concerning safety and fear of possible combustion, such as what transpired in the town of Blenheim a number of years back, resulting in loss of life and property. Our residents have suffered through numerous flooding events by means of man-made projects such as the Gilboa Dam and NIPA, to once again supply the multitudes. We have already experienced the loss of assessed values on hard-earned properties, and our landscape has already been marred. All support supported by those politicians in this state who seek the vote of the multitudes and look at this as collateral damage. Why do they not care? I have to be quite honest with you. I have also not overcome the absolute lack of concern by Constitution Pipeline representatives shown to the residents of our county regarding last year's catastrophic flooding event, which has left many of our residents still homeless. While we have been forced to attend many meetings with them, never have they recognized the poor timing of this project. It gives, I guess it would be safe to say, pipeline in the ground at any expense. They have advocated their willingness to come to some type of agreement with respect to routing and compressor stations. They have created numerous alternates, notifying all residents who could possibly be affected, creating complete hysteria throughout the county, rather than waiting until final determination was in place or no routing at all. They have advocated that the phrase eminent domain would be the last resort, and yet many of our residents have been told that if they do not cooperate, their properties will simply be condemned. Another tool of government to reach out and take what people have worked for their entire lives, all to supply the multitudes. They have promised $5 million tax dollars annually to our county. I am thankful that the editor at the Times Journal did his homework on that. It equates to about 39 cents when calculating distribution to the county, school districts, and towns. I know our residents have great concern about what is put beneath our soils. Perhaps it is going to take enough of them to say no to this project for those in government that should care to understand that this pipeline and what it can promote as far as hydrofracking is concerned is not wanted in our communities. On the last stop, I guess it remains to be seen how much you truly care about our communities. Hopefully, you can find another way to supply the multitudes with what they need and remove the once again requested sacrifice of our residents. If I could have wished this project away, it would have been gone the very day it was proposed. So I call upon you to sympathize with the conditions that we already live with, and I ask you to convince others that our residents have already made their contribution to the request for supply. Our lives are full of concern with respect to what is already in place. Please care about our people and ask no more of us. And one more thing. In our town of Schoharie, we have a cost zone referred to in our land use law as the Barton Hill Overlay. This cost zone sits atop the watershed and primary aquifer for the village public water supply. As such, the Barton Hill Overlay is subject to stringent land use provisions, several of which, such as the use of herbicides, would seem to be violated by the Constitution Pipeline proposal. I want to emphasize here that all of the proposed routes cross the Barton Hill Overlay. This matter will be brought up at our town board meeting tomorrow night, and a formal comment on this topic will be filed with FERC. I would like some assurance that attention will be paid to this issue, even if we miss the October 9th filing deadline mentioned on page 7 of your notice of intent. Thank you.